Occult knowledge is held by very few people, unfortunately, because a superclass of occultists decided to sequester that knowledge and use it for their own selfish benefit. The masses of humanity remain ignorant to what occultism is and to its influence in their daily lives. That's why the world is enslaved. That's why people can continue to be manipulated and controlled, because there's a small class of people who know all about these laws of nature, and there's a huge body of people who don't want to learn them because of the responsibility that is carried with that knowledge. Occultism is a body of science which is not widely known to the general population, consisting of hidden knowledge about the workings of the human psyche and the laws of nature. In other words, both the seen laws, which are the physical laws, and the unseen laws, which are spiritual laws. Another thing people will argue and debate is that no one should be looking into the occult at all. Oh, don't look into that stuff, it's bad. Well, we already dismissed that myth that this is just something that's bad. It just means hidden. What happens with it is determined upon what kind of consciousness the individual or groups of people are doing with that knowledge. How do we use it? That's the main question that needs to be asked. How is this knowledge being used? It's not that we shouldn't look into it or understand it. It's a neutral tool, as is all knowledge. All knowledge is neutral. There is no such thing as good knowledge or bad knowledge. There's just knowledge and what we do with it. So the consciousness of the wielder of this knowledge determines whether that information and knowledge is going to be used for good or evil. I think people have to be much more grown up about how they think about occult knowledge. This is not something that is forbidden. Dark occultists want us to think of it as forbidden, so that we don't learn what they know and start empowering ourselves with it. Dark occultists, on the other hand, always hide this knowledge for only one reason. They hide it in order to create and maintain a power differential between those who hold this kind of knowledge and those who remain ignorant of it. Dark occultists work through fear and manipulation to bring about compliance with their own selfish will. Their dark, great work is always done in secrecy, and it is constantly contravening the freedom and prosperity of all but themselves. Dark occultists have completely infiltrated and permeated all institutional walks of life on this planet. They maintain their control over the human population through their manipulation of these institutions. This manipulation and control is not only possible, but it's relatively easy for them to accomplish, because the structure of all the institutions that they run and that they have set up on the face of the earth is based upon hierarchy and compartmentalization. Hierarchy means a chain of command, or really a chain of obedience. Therein lies the problem, the chain of obedience in hierarchy. And compartmentalization means one hand doesn't know what the other hand's doing. All these groups seem to work completely in isolation from each other, but they're ultimately controlled by one overarching agenda that knows how they're all fitting together like pieces of a puzzle. That's compartmentalization. These two things are the hallmark of all institutions that want control: hierarchy and compartmentalization. The great work of dark occultism is to keep humanity in a state of general unconsciousness and slavery, and to tighten that control until they obtain a threefold objective. They wish to be invincible, invisible, and immortal. That is the goal of the dark occultists. They want total control. They want nobody to be able to see their total control or who they are, and they want to live forever in the physical world. In other words, they want to maintain and tighten that control to the extent that they literally become God on earth. That is what dark occultism is all about. Through the power differential that Satanists gain by way of manipulating those who remain in ignorance of this occulted knowledge, this small minority of those who are in the know wish to permanently rule the masses of humanity and effectively become God on earth. This is one of their goals. Absolutely. They don't want to worship any deity. They want to become deity. These were people in positions of great influence and power throughout our entire society. They were not working separately toward their own individual goals. Instead, they were working together as a tight-knit unit of a hierarchical worldwide network toward one common goal, and that goal was to increase their own collective power at the expense of everybody else's freedom. In other words, they wanted to become the kings of the world and enslave everybody else in the process. That was their goal. And they talked about it openly and plainly. True freedom can never exist in a society that embraces moral relativism. It is an impossibility according to the laws of nature. And yet, how many people in our society, ladies and gentlemen, would you say subscribe to the ideology of moral relativism? That there is no objective right or wrong in nature itself. You know, we get to make up what a right is. You know, man can make that up and then grant that right to other people. And then if we so choose the next day, we can pass a law and we can say, no, that action is no longer a right. We'll jail you, we'll throw you in a cage for performing that behavior. Our entire society is built upon moral relativism, called the laws of man. And the vast majority of the zombie walkers that we have floating around this society are also adherents of the religion of moral relativism. They create what they call a mastermind, a group of people all focused on the attainment of the same task. They're very organized and on the same page in this regard. Humanity is not. Everybody wants a million different things, but they don't want to end slavery on the earth. You know, they don't want to understand rights and then actually protect their rights. You know, they're all living for all these different purposes of hedonistic pleasure pursuits, but we don't come together for the right reasons. These people all come together and act of one accord for all the wrong reasons. That's why the universe is technically granting them what they want, because the universe will grant the desires of what people want if they all come together and none of them are divided. And not only that, but they're not divided inside internally about what they want. In other words, their thoughts, their emotions, and their actions are perfectly in alignment. There's no contradiction. They don't say they want this and then their emotions and actions betray what they say they want in their thoughts. They're very unified in that regard. I call this concept dark care. People hate it. They hate hearing about it because it's like saying, what, evil can win over good? Yes! Yes, it can. Evil is winning over good. Not only can it, it is. Because they're united and on one accord and we are not. That's exactly why evil's winning right now, unfortunately. So when they come together and do these rituals, they're on the same page. They're all there for the same reason. Political rituals. We're going to sign our law into being that we're going to forcibly coerce man to live by. You know, we're going to do it in our temple because we're the gods of this society. You know, all kinds of magical rites and rituals are done every time these politicians try to pass off anything to the public. They have to do little tricks, you know, and little rituals to get people to say, oh, isn't that nice? Look at how elaborate and nice that was. We have the potential to become powerful teachers of natural law and what's really taking place in our world. And you know what most people are doing? They're on Facebook playing some stupid game, because that's all it is. It's not a creative tool. It was part of one of the first things I talked about in how to become the true media. If you think you're going to put out any publishing, true good publishing to the world on a tablet or smartphone, you don't understand the work that's involved. Most people don't even understand that that's what they're saying to them, is that you're our pets and we've trained you in the boot camp or police academy, and we will unleash you when we say, and you'll follow our orders and you'll follow our commands to do whatever we tell you to do to other people, like a well-trained dog. And that's the only name that they ever called people. They called them our dogs or our pets. Nothing else. They never even referred to people in uniform as human beings. You try to tell people what's going on, and they say, I don't care, I don't want to know about that stuff. I want to live for today. I want to live for my pleasure pursuits. The goal of life is to pursue happiness, hedonistic pursuits. Some people will say, oh, that's the best revenge, is living well. Well, I have no problem with success and prosperity. That's what I'm telling people I want, and they should want too. But when you make that the goal of life, as opposed to being moral and free, you're missing what this entire existence is all about. And most people are stuck in that. They're stuck in that trap for the soul. It's what our whole culture is based on. It's what they got people believing is the point of life, instead of to learn and to grow in consciousness. The answer is get out. It's going to be harder and harder to get out of this as we go deeper and deeper into it. In other words, quit your cult. Quit the cult. The cult is not interested in helping you. It doesn't want to help you. It doesn't want to protect you. It wants to own you. How do you quit the cult? Respect, remembrance, and responsibility.